Hello everybody, and welcome back to Odin's movie blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and yes, I am back. Not back yet at a full regular schedule yet, as Baby Thor is almost a full 2 weeks old. And again, thank you for everyone who has sent their thoughts, their prayers, their well wishes for Baby Thor entering into the world. Long may he reign. And hopefully I'll be able to maybe bring him onto a stream every now and then. But of course, Freya will have the ultimate say with everything that deals with that specific question. But there are a lot of things that have been happening since I've been kind of off the web. First off, I haven't gotten a whole lot of sleep. I've gotten a lot more sleep than I thought I was going to, because luckily Baby Thor is a very good sleeper, great eater, great pooper especially. And you know what? That's all great and honest stuff, but a lot of things have been happening also outside of here in Asgard, and that is that AMC Entertainment especially has been taking a lot of hard hits, including selling their theaters. You can rent out an entire theater to yourself for around $100, which to me is insane, but also kind of awesome. If we didn't live in the COVID era, one, we wouldn't have that kind of a deal, but also I would actually be more apt to say, hey, let's go ahead and get together a group of fans, a group of people, and let's see if we can get a movie shown. I mean, I'm assuming that means we can get any movie that we want that they can get access to, or potentially maybe it's just the ones that are available. But hey, I would love to be able to show films that I've loved in the past 10 years that I consider to be the greatest films of all time. Films like Whiplash, films like Nightcrawler, get more people to go see those and have exposure to those things. Obviously, the Alita Army, hashtag Alita Army, has had a huge push to get the film re-released in Cinemark locations across the country. Unfortunately, they were also set to have it released at Regal cinemas, but Regal decided to shut everything down. Every single Regal cinema has been shut down indefinitely. So things in the movie theater industry have been very, very hard hit by COVID, very much so by a lot of the shutdowns in some of these massive states, including California and New York. But one point about New York in just a second. But even though some of these states are reopening, and even though their capacities are getting a little bit bigger, and obviously we have these new reports about new uprises and cases and all this, craziness, it's something that I don't think the theaters are ever going to be able to fully recover. And some of you might say that's a good thing. Some of you might say it's a bad thing. I'm kind of in that middle where I think it is a bad thing, because if there's less theaters around me, I think that's bad. I like having a lot of options. I like having a lot of choices. And on the flip side of that, some would say, but this is a good thing, because it means these giant companies, these giant corporations like AMC will no longer have a complete vice grip on the industry, and therefore more independent films or more independent theater owners will be able to start to buy up some of these theaters that they might be having to sell off to try and get some cash on hand. As it says right here, AMC Entertainment sees Q3 sales plunge, had $419 million in cash as of September 30th, plans to sell more stock. So they're selling stock. I would not be surprised if they start to sell their actual theater spaces, or at least shut them down and allow them to be sold by sold by themselves or sold by others, selling it to maybe an intermediary that can then sell it to a local business owner or to a Regal Cinemark, the places that might be doing a little better. Probably Cinemark, since they're the only theater chain that I know of, major chain at the very least. Again, not talking regional chains or smaller chains, but as far as national chains here in the United States, it's definitely the one that Cinemark is that has done, I think, the best job of being able to get people back into the theater and keeping themselves up and running, offering various deals and showing a lot of classic movies and things of that nature. But AMC is in a very, very tight spot here. And honestly, I don't think that it's going to be able to survive this. There's already talks that they've, have been several reports since I've been out about how they think that AMC very well could file for bankruptcy by the end of the year. I would say if you're dealing with this kind of loss of cash, loss of revenue, that is very likely going to happen. I've already seen local theaters, local chains near me, local AMCs cut their hours down. There's one theater that's only open on weekends, Friday to Sunday. They're not open during the week. And all I can think about, of course, because this is where my mind always goes, are all those jobs that are being impacted. Those workers that are working part-time, the retired workers that are working part-time, because it's the only job that they can get those kind of flexible hours to, or those that might be even disabled. There's been a lot of disabled workers that have worked for AMC because it is one of the few jobs that they're going to be able to get, whether it be them as a ticket taker or them working in the box office. It's one of those few jobs that they can, really be given in this marketplace that we have right now. And as far as being able to have the type of flexible hours and the ability for them to, to be receiving that training, and for people to not simply say, oh, I'm not going to hire you for whatever reason. And these jobs are going away. And that's why I always get so frustrated and so angry when I see people say, oh, death to AMC, death to Regal, death to these giant cinema chains. They're owned by China. They're owned by China. And all I can think of is, yeah, but the people working for them are not. And even though we could argue that it's a good thing for companies that are a part of these more international bodies are being negatively impacted, we also have to keep in mind the people, the actual regular everyday people. And you can say, oh, they can just get another job, learn to code, etc. But it's harder to say that when you're dealing with people that are retired, who are working, trying to make just a little bit of extra money to maybe take care of their grandchildren, maybe even take care of their children, maybe actually to save up so they can travel to visit their children, right? I worked with so many retirees when I worked at AMC who were doing just that. They were making this extra bit of money on the side because they couldn't handle a full work schedule. And the only job, the only location that would really offer them the flexible hours they needed, and also the job that they would still be able to handle in their years, was working for the theater, was working for AMC. And AMC, being a big company, was able to offer them competitive pay and was able to offer them a lot more hours than other opportunities that may have existed. And I go back to it once again, and I know that some people have brought this up in our live streams as well, about how there are people that are disabled that have been able to work as ticket takers and other places and are, again, awesome. Like they're treated like normal everyday people because, one, they are human beings that deserve to be treated with the intrinsic value that they have, but because they're being put in that position, it helps us be able to have those interactions with them, these interactions that they really need, because Lord knows that they're being looked down upon in their everyday life. Lord knows, just because unfortunately we live in a society, in a world that does that to people. And that's one way for them to get those interactions and to have those conversations that they're not going to be able to have in any other real job. It's, being a ticket taker, I know it seems kind of like a low ball job or whatever, but I'm going to tell you right now, you have conversations as a ticket taker and you have these interactions that you wouldn't have doing anything else. Now, unfortunately, many times those are the jobs that are given to the teenagers, and those are the jobs given to the people that can't do anything else. But when you think about someone that's a really good ticket taker, what are they? They're not just someone that's going to tell you where to go. They're someone that you can talk to about the movies that are out, someone that you can talk to about what their favorite movies are. And I mean, that was some of the best experiences that I had when working for AMC, was actually working at the ticket taker, because I was so passionate about the movies and I had some really great discussions. So I'm thinking of that. I'm thinking of those people. I'm thinking of the workers that are being negatively impacted by this. And that's why it just hurts me to see AMC falling so far. And this goes for any of the theater chains out there that might fall as well. As you can see, movie marketers will pick up the audience in pieces for months to come, right? What a great time to not be a movie marketer, because at the end of the day, there's no one to market to. No one is actually going out to see any of these movies, even though they're offering cheap discounts, they're offering cheaper concessions, all the things that normally would keep people away. Even though they're lifting them or making them less difficult to deal with, people still don't quite want to go back to the theaters. And again, I can understand that from one perspective of some people still being nervous about going back. But then on the other side of it, it's still impossible to go in certain states. Like California, for instance, it's very hard to go to any of the theaters, especially when you have so many crazy restrictions. You go on, AT&T, John Stanky, not optimistic on theatrical, says, I can't tell you we walked away from the Tenet experience saying it was a home run. And that's a great example. Tenet made hundreds of millions of dollars worldwide, but because it cost as much as it did, and we live in the marketplace where they need to make so much more to get their money back, it's a film that might at the very least break even, maybe make some profit once all the DVDs, Blu-rays, 4Ks have been sold after the theatrical run is finished, but is a movie that definitely is underperforming because obviously of the various lockdowns. You have many theaters and many movies that are moving all across the release calendar. Ghostbusters Afterlife, which had already been pushed back, has now been pushed again from March of 2021 going all the way to June of 2021, and you're seeing this constantly over and over again, where theaters are having to deal with getting ready for a movie. A week or two before the movie is set to come out, the theater, the movie studio come out and said, oh, you know what, we're just going to push that back. Lord knows that's tough on them, because imagine how the theaters are probably spending money, or at the very least taking up real estate trying to promote movies that are not actually coming to their theater anytime soon. Again, that is, even though maybe they don't pay for the posters that are coming in, it costs them, because that kind of space can be very precious, especially when there are so few people there at the theater already. You want to have movies up on the wall that they can see and say, oh, I can't wait for this, when it's actually going to be coming out. But when they're constantly having to change the dates over and over again, Lord, why would anyone want to put up with that? And then lastly here, Regal Cinemas reopening in New York following Governor Cuomo's okay for movie theaters. So this is an interesting development here. 2 weeks after Cineworld announced the closing of its U.S. 536 Regal Cinemas chain, the circuit is reopening 11 locations in New York this Friday following Governor Cuomo's recent approval to reopen them. And so we see here that that is something that honestly should have happened a long time ago. I mean, dear Lord, the way in which all the shutdowns have been run by whether it's Governor Cuomo in New York or Gavin Newsom in California or any of the other big states that have had such tremendous, crazy shutdowns, they've just been handled terribly. And you're not going to be able to recover. You're not going to be able to recover from this because people are already saying, oh, that's the new normal. It's the new normal, even though all of us say, no, it's not. It's the abnormal. It's not the new normal at all. It's the abnormal because this is not something that I want to ever be the normal in our society or in our culture. When I'm being told, oh, this could go into 2022, I say, hell no. We're done with the shutdowns. We're done with dealing with this nonsense in the way that we are. And for someone like me, I want to be able to go back unrestricted to the theater again. I want to have movies that I can actually look forward to going to see. And this is something that goes even beyond the shutdowns, right? This goes back to Hollywood. Hollywood, stop making stupid movies. Stop going political in your stories. Stop pushing identity politics in your stories. Reopen the theaters. And the only way they're going to be able to reopen them is by putting new content out and putting good content out on top of that. All of these things need to happen in order for the theaters to be able to come back. But if you're just going to sit on your hands and you're going to say, nope, we're just not going to do anything. We're going to push it back a year, 2 years, maybe even put it out on demand instead. All you're going to do is kill the theater chains. And when you kill the theater chains, guess what? You got no place to show your movie except for your streaming service. And we've all seen what happens when people try and put everything on their streaming service behind a paywall, especially films that no one actually wants to go see. Looking at you, Disney's Mulan. But anyway, what are your thoughts about this? Again, it's been a long time, so welcome back, everybody. And hopefully we'll start the live streams up pretty soon. But again, Baby Thor gets, of course, preference and gets the first dibs of my time going forward. And so hopefully everyone has been doing swimmingly well. I cannot wait to read the comment section and cannot wait to interact with you guys again. So thank you again for the bottom of my heart for all the thoughts and prayers. And some people even sent gifts. So I need to shout out people like Super Anime Gamer. I need to shout out people like Eric K for sending some awesome. So Eric K sent a crap ton, about 160 diapers, which is something we desperately needed because he's not quite ready for the cloth diapers that we're going to be using. So that was huge for us. So thank you, and got us a wipe warmer. And that has been, let me just put, Baby Thor is very happy that there's no longer cold wipes going and cleaning him. So thank you to everyone. If I'm forgetting anyone, I apologize. It's just my mind is all over the place, but those are the two that I remember had sent something more recently. So thank you all so very much. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Please smash the like button, leave a comment below, especially at that pinned comment, because that's the one I'll be able to spend a little bit more time paying attention to, because obviously most of my time and attention is going to be on Baby Thor. You guys are all amazing, beautiful people. Have a wonderful day. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my October Patreon and Subscribe members. And I want to apologize to them for not having a lot of videos out this month to be able to shout their names out at, and to not have any live streams either really this month. To be able to shout your names out. So I'm going to try and get as many as I can done. But again, thank you very much for your time and for your patience, especially as Baby Thor has entered into the world. So shout out to Albertus Magnus, animation commentator Brian P., David Bobrizik, Dion, Divex, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Father Damian Cook, Frank the Tank and the Shawhan Wiener Dog Clan, Harold Francis, the Hunker Chunker Funker Monkey, Inflamed Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jacob Juice, The Juice, Jeffrey Toon, Jonathan Carney, Kenneth Cameo, Laura Story, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mike Jackson, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin, On to June, Orange Hat Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Outpost Dyer, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Steve Glasker, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bojand, and Tina B. Thank you very much for being my Patreon members, and a special shout out especially to people like Laura, the Modern Major General Story, for being one of my Chosen of Valhalla. I forgot to give you a shout out in that way before. And also a shout out to Miss Martin Muses, also known as Teresa Martin, who is also one of my Chosen of Valhalla, but I wanted to make sure to shout out her channel, Miss Martin Muses, because she has recently changed it from Teresa Martin. So shout out to you and to everyone that I just mentioned. And also a shout out to all of my Subscribe Star members, Stand For, Perpetual Punster, Robert Revo, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, Darkstar 57, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., US 888209 Fast, Dean Heiss, Harold Francis, J-Rod the Beer Guru, Nevadan G. Adams, and ZK Man. Thank you very much for being Subscribe Star members, and again, I apologize for not having as much content, especially for the giveaways. I plan to try and do as many giveaways as I can in the last 6 or 7 days of the month of October when I'm recording this. So this is after the fact. Hopefully you've had a giveaway or two between now and then, but thank you again for all of your patience. I also plan to try and get at least one more podcast episode out this month with John the Flickpick Flickinger. If you want to be able to have access to that podcast, please consider joining on Patreon, Subscribe Star, or even YouTube members at that $10 and up level, the Keeper of the Bifrost level, and you'll be able to get access to that exclusive podcast where we do that about twice a month to the best of our ability. But of course, with our crazy schedules, especially mine becoming even more crazier, we're doing the very best that we can with that. So be on the lookout for Q&A post on Patreon and also on Subscribe Star, and also, of course, for the channel on YouTube memberships. You can find that on the community tab for YouTube members if you are a part of the Keeper of the Bifrost, to be able to ask questions of both I or John the Flickpick Flickinger. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for your patience, and may always... I just lost my train of thought. I need sleep. Have a wonderful day, everybody. And as always, God bless.